Hey guys, MrPokke here. Just a really quick video for those of you guys who are wondering if you are going to be pulling for Rosaria's dupes. I know most players, especially for the free-to-play and light spenders, you're probably not going to take this into consideration because I've mentioned in my Rosaria guide that for her unique passive, this actually doesn't really change too much, at least until level 3 and 4, which is going to extend your attack up the duration from 1 turn to 2 turns and then subsequently to 3 turns at level 4 eventually. With regards to PvP, every single one of these level increases will increase your attack by 5%. So mainly the purpose of this video today is to just take a look and see how exactly are you going to be getting the value out from this additional up to 5%, 10% as well as a 15% attack. For this additional duration on your attack up, for PvE purposes, it's almost entirely useless. Even if you were to progress in PvE, usually you shouldn't even be getting into this scenario in the first place because you should be running either an Emily, Welt's Ashura, Hilda, whatever comes sustain, and you wouldn't really even trigger this by that much. And even if you do trigger this, because this is not a unique attack up buff, it is just like any other attack up buff, you're not going to be able to stack this with other buffs on top of that, which is why I would say if you're just going to be purely going for the dupes, you are pretty much just looking at this from a PvP perspective, right? So without further ado, this is just going to be purely for the sake of science as well as for you guys. I'm going to be doing this so that you guys don't have to. We'll just be redeeming directly from the shop for 3 additional copies, and then we'll just see what are the increments going to be like, right? So that's going to be 1. Alright, and then that is going to be 2. Alright, and then this is going to be 3. And yes, once again, never ever try to pull for her banner directly because I have mentioned a lot of times, a cosmic banner is only going to be at 1%. For every other banner, it is always going to be at 2% rate up, right? So never pull for a cosmic banner, for at least for the units, right? So at this point, we are just going to take a look into the baseline damage first, just to see how much more damage we're going to be able to do from this particular statement, right? I think just to be a little bit more fair with everyone, we're just going to be sticking with this endless corridor. I'm currently at floor 215 just to see how much this is going to be like with the additional stats we are going to be gathering. So I will go ahead and set something like this with Emily so that we are going to be able to get ourselves the same buffs every single time. We are going to be giving our attack buff to Rosaria, or rather we can just start off with no attack buffs at all, just to see what are her current raw damage going to be looking like at limit break 0. Alright, so we're just going to pop open a shield into an ultimate. So the only number that you guys should be taking note is going to be the number at the top corner. So this corner right here, we're just going to slow this down. Activate our burst so that we definitely get 100% crit rate. This is going to be limit break 0 with no attack buff whatsoever. And also this is also just going to be showing like a little bit of a importance as to why attack buffs in this game are so good, because you can see that for any attack buff, your damage is going to be going up substantially, right? Unfortunately, let me see if we can take a look at bro's stats over here. There we go. Okay, unfortunately we can't actually see what her exact attack stats in battle, which is gonna be a little bit unfortunate, but we'll just take a look at the damage. So 1x animation, and that damage is going to be about 33,970, right? So that's gonna be 33,970, and now we're gonna be moving on into the next comparison, which is with the attack buff. Now we'll give Rosaria the attack buff, and we'll pop them our ultimate as per usual. And now Rosaria with the additional attack buff, we should be getting a much higher damage. So this is gonna be looking something like 43,020. So we straight up went from 33,000 all the way to 43,000, which is going to be a almost 10,000 damage increase. Roughly about the same value you're going to be getting directly from the 30% attack buff, which is pretty interesting because if you think about it, you would think that attack buffs in Star Savior is not going to be too important, but actually because every single time you're going to be applying any sort of buffs, it is going to be taking into consideration your in-combat attack and not your stat attack. So any forms of attack buff will substantially increase your overall damage, right? So that is the reason why attack buffs usually are very, very important, and that is also why, you know, Sarah, right, units that gives you attack buff or cleavers, you will be seeing like a lot higher damage in general, right? So we are now going to be done with that. We'll open up our first limit break, and this will then give us our very first increment in our max affection as well as a 5% attack. Speaking about affection, I'll show you guys the differences the affection actually going to be giving you. So right now, all these stats are going to be measured at affection level 29 right before level 30. Then later on towards the end, we'll just see how much more additional damage you're going to be doing with the additional levels of affection, right? So we're just going to go back in and do the exact same test. So this is now with an additional 5% attack. So we can then compare this with our baseline multipliers. We do not need to do our attack buffs because we already know attack buffs is usually going to be a 30% increment. So we're just going to be playing this as per normal. So now we're going to pop both our bursts. Let's see how much more damage this 5% attack is going to be giving us. Activating this ultimate. So that is 35,317. So we went up by roughly 1,500 additional damage across 3 targets compared to our 33,000, which is roughly about a 5% damage increase, right? So pretty interesting that you are going to be almost getting the exact same value as you are going to be seeing from the stats. So we are now going to activate our next dupe. So this is now going to take our attack buff from 5% to 10%. Alright, so we're now going to jump back into the candle square again. Once again, no attack buff, purely just from our raw numbers alone. So we are now going to see how this is going to be like at limit break 2. So this slams in. So this is now 37,116, which is about a 2,000 attack from 35,000. So that is a roughly, once again, a 5% damage increase, right? So pretty much for, at least for the past 2 dupes, every single time you're going to be getting yourself an additional copy of 5% attack, your in-combat damage just basically goes up by roughly 5%, right? So in case you guys are wondering how much damage increase this is going to be, we are now going to activate our final dupe, and this is going to be taking our dupe to level 200. Also gets the lobby, which is very, very nice. Although speaking about the lobby, I do wish that they flip the screen a little bit because I think my head hurts from actually looking at the Rosaria in the upside down format. Now this is gonna be with 15% attack. So let's see how much damage we're going to be doing. And then towards the end, later on, we are also going to be applying 1 attack buff to our 15% attack with our additional affections, right? So this is going to activate the final hit over here. And then this will be, let's just open just in case we missed the 5% crit. Hop this over here. So that is 38,471, 72. So that is roughly about a 2.5-ish thousand damage increase from 35, which is going to be also once again coming to around 5%-ish damage increase. So comparing from just now from 33,000 all the way to 38,000, we basically went up our damage by 5,000. So taking that into consideration, a total damage increase is pretty much exactly 15% from our original, which is going to be 33,000, right? So that's going to be at limit break 0 all the way up onto limit break 3. So now we are just simply going to see how much damage this is actually going to be with the additional levels of affection, because affection does give you a little bit of stats. So give me 1 second, as I don't know if I can actually bring this all the way up to the highest level of affection. Okay, I'm just gonna do level 35 just to see how much more damage it is gonna be. Alright, so we get a plus 33 attack, which frankly speaking, I think it barely makes any difference whatsoever. So let's just see how much 5 affection levels actually gives us. Because do note that for starsavior, your unit's affection actually cannot cross level 30 unless you're gonna be getting their dupes. Alright, so at this point, with the additional affection, we're just gonna do one more test without the attack buff. And we'll see how much more this is going to be. Alright, activate our burst. So it was just now 38,000 plus plus. We'll see if we crack 39 with the additional 5 levels of risk just now. So 38,879. So slightly less than 200 or 300 damage. I'm not exactly, can't really remember exactly because I'm too old. But that is pretty much gonna be 38,800 for a level 35 Rosaria with my current build. We'll just do one final showcase to apply our attack buff this time to a limit break max level Rosaria. So this gets the attack buff. And then we are just going to pop this over and over here. Alright, then let's see how much this damage is gonna be. From 38,800 to a grand total of 49,005. Right, so that is pretty much gonna be 38,800 divided by 49,500, which is a roughly 23% final damage increase, which I would say it is gonna be very, very substantial, right? So with that, we have pretty much come into the end of this very, very short video. If you're thinking of whether or not you should be getting Rosaria's dupes, one thing to note is that you can see that our CP actually went up drastically with the additional levels of dupes, which actually would make pushing PvE stages a little bit easier, especially for our sectors with the additional limit break, right? But I would say still at the end of the day, in overall usage for Rosarias, even for dupes, it is definitely going to be mainly tied towards your PvP, because in PvP, all these stats are going to be adding up, right? So you dealing with 15% more damage towards the end, almost 15% more exactly, it is definitely going to be able to help you a lot for those pesky like 1% scenarios if you are going to be using Rosaria in PvP, because every single turn is going to matter, right? In this, especially for the competitive PvP environments. For PvE, because we did gain a pretty decent increase for your combat power, on top of that, just dealing more damage, if you are going to be whaling, and if you are like a PvE whale, I would also still consider Rosaria for that position. And just before we end off this video, I can kind of just show you guys how Rosaria is actually going to be doing like in PvE. So this is actually the team that I've been running nowadays. And we can kind of just treat this as a bonus to see how you actually roll Rosaria in your PvE content, because I've actually found quite a surprising amount of success that I've been running with her, particularly because of that 30% defense down, right? Defense down, attack up, all these are extremely, extremely important buffs that will make you deal substantially higher damage. So for this particular thing, we are just simply going to give our Rosaria the attack buff, and notice how my speed tuning is gonna be activating over here. I make sure that my Emily actually outspeeds the Void Exterminator so that we can get ourselves a defense up before he's gonna do his big hit onto Emily. Alright, so he's gonna come in. There's a bit of hit. If we did not get a defense up, that would have been a substantial damage. So you can see, because Rosaria's ultimate is always going to be AoE, in combination with our Emily, you can actually achieve a very first turn break on the 2 mobs, which will save you a lot of damage, right? Because these 2 mobs, if you allow them to pass through, they are going to be damaging your Emily a lot more, which means you don't have enough time to give Emily the additional Nova Burst to activate her actual, shield from the basic, right? So we're just going to apply our ultimate. And this hopefully lands the defense down. If it doesn't land defense down, we just pretty much just have to go again. Alright. Okay, we do land the defense down. And then from here, my Bunny Charlotte is going to be coming in and land our double basic onto Void Exterminator. Right. Hopefully this breaks a shield. Okay, very, very good. We do break the shield. At this point, because we are gonna be using our Wealth Ashira, this is gonna be slower Wealth Ashira, focusing on crit. Gets us a teamwide action value advance right after everybody went to gain maximum action value. And then this is just gonna come back with the skill. 15,000 into a 7,900, which is a roughly 23,000 burst. I would say that is pretty substantial. But this is where Rosaria's PvE usage will start to fall down a little bit, which is why I personally think she's not really meant to be played as a main DPS, more so for a sub DPS. Because if you purely talk about damage numbers, your crit Wealth Ashra's basic. Alright, all these basics, as well as your main DPS that is Bunny Charlotte, she's the highest damage dealer in the game. These two will generally help you deal a lot more than Rosaria throughout the entire fight of the battle itself, right? So later on you can see the stat screen, just how much more this is gonna be. We are just gonna continuously apply our basic, and then gets a follow-up attack as well. Also in particular for chapter 24, or anytime you're gonna be up against stages where the boss are gonna be weak to dark, right, because this is going to be a cosmic boss, that is where Rosaria can actually deal quite a lot of value over here. Now, unfortunately for this particular stage, because my Bunny Charlotte did not manage to outspeed this guy by 1 action value, I am unable to break this fast enough. Alright, if your Bunny Charlotte was actually a little bit faster, you could actually use this to outspeed Void Exterminator, breaking him and keeping a 100% defense down uptime. But unfortunately, I don't really have the speed for that here. But if you do want to get yourself that build, it will make this stage a lot easier, right? In PvE, especially for sector bosses, it is always about speed tuning, right? You want to try to apply all the debuffs as much as you can. So that is pretty much it, right? At this point, we're just gonna keep going. I think we should be able to still heal from this backup. Also missing the 10% crit is absolutely diabolical. Gets the basic. Rosaria is going to be able to land us the break over here. And then we just hope that my Emily survives the double minions here. Because we do have quite a lot of basic from Welts. Okay. That's a little bit scary. Gets us the advance. Okay, then this is going to be giving us our burst, just to do as much damage as possible. Imagine if bro actually had the defense down debuff, it would actually be a lot higher, right? So now you're gonna start applying your Emily shields to yourself. And then we'll let go of 1 stack of our Nova burst. For this particular instance, you do want to just activate this without the Nova burst, because you want to save it for Emily's next turn, when she's going to be able to cast the shield on herself, right? So this is just going to come in for the basic, healing our Emily a little bit more. Hopefully this doesn't aim Emily, but it usually always is Emily. Holy shit, we actually somehow managed to survive that, which is a little bit absurd. Now we're just going to go back in for the burst here. Unfortunately, we do need to break these 2 goons, because if we don't break these 2 goons, he is not going to be able to survive, right? My Emily is pretty much gonna die here very soon. Okay, actually, you know what? We can just do 1 basic on 1 goon, and then Emily can tank 1 hit from the other goon. Alright. Alright, so we delay 1 goon. The other goon here, I think is actually fine, just staying as it is. So we can focus on our toughness bar damage onto Void Exterminator here. But in any case, I don't think we are gonna be able to survive this regardless. Because bro is just a little bit too fast here. We just want to tank that 1 more hit. Okay. Okay, we actually did get that 1 more hit. This gives us action value advance. My Emily is probably... Okay, unfortunately, I don't think my Emily is surviving this. So we are just gonna go ahead into the ultimate and apply our defense down. Even if Emily dies here, because keep in mind, this is gonna be an AoE attack, so there's pretty much no way you're ever surviving this. It is gonna be okay, because I think we should be able to deal enough damage if we apply the defense on debuff. Okay, we do apply defense on debuff. Okay, Emily's definitely gonna be dying there. From this point out, it is pretty much going to be all in. So we're gonna activate our ultimate and get a little bit of self-heal and hopefully get us the break on bro before he could come back in. Alright. So this is fine. And then this is always gonna be triggering our additional follow-up attack, which means we are gonna be breaking him over here. Alright, hopefully it doesn't aim Bunny Charlotte. Oh, actually this looks pretty good. We are just gonna own this guy. Hopefully none of us die to the goon over there, which should be fine. Asha takes a hit, gets the additional buff over here, and Rosaria should be landing us a kill for this particular moment, right? Cruiser is gonna go in, gets a little bit more of the additional attack. This is gonna miss our crit because this game absolutely hates me. And miss our crit again because this game absolutely hates me. And miss our crit again because this game absolutely hates me. But luckily for us, unless my Rosaria misses the 5%, because I'm at 95% crit rate, we should be getting the kill over here, right? There we go. Right, so that is pretty much how you will use Rosaria in your PvE content, just as an example. So in terms of raw damage, you can see our Rosaria is... Okay, you know what? I take it back. The AoE damage from Rosaria actually amounted to quite a bit. But when it comes to single target damage, Bunny Charlotte as well as Asha, these two definitely contributed towards the main target, right? A lot of these splash damage because it helped on with the bosses. But I would say, overall speaking, I am actually pretty satisfied with her performance in PvE, at least for now. Maybe in the future when we get like even crazier DPSs, that might change. Because at this moment, I can just see Rosaria being that defense down application, right? You apply defense down, let your entire team deal way more damage, and if you're able to speed tune enough, your team can do substantially higher damage because we don't really have any other element neutral defense down applicators. So from what I'm guessing, can potentially replace the slot for Emily as well as Bunny Charlotte if they release like a better tank or a better main target DPS. So the main problem with Bunny Charlotte is that if you're up against a blue boss, then definitely not going to be dealing as much toughness bar damage, right? This game is always going to be about toughness bar damage. So with that, we're going to come to the end of a quick little video. Should you be limit breaking Rosaria, getting her dupes, as well as her overall PvE performances? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. All the best for gacha pools. Use code PROGAMER for 10% gamer subs, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.